Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. All things Middle Earth here with a quick video tier list looking at the best gold armor pieces for damage dealing commanders specifically. And I just want to say I had a few comments about what stats we're not covering and why I'm not doing that. For the most part, something like initiative, which was what the comment was about, has to do with commanders like Gandalf the White and Sauron, who I am not considering kind of traditional damage commanders. If you have them at high respect, it kind of becomes a different conversation. But for the most part, this is just meant to look at really traditional damage commanders who you're just running damage skills on them and they just really care about having commander attack or focus and then damage to boost that. So this is a simplistic view kind of done on the tier list, so it's a little bit easier than going through a spreadsheet. So hopefully that makes sense. And as always, if you're making final decisions on gear or spec and you're not sure, feel free to hop in the Discord because it's a great place to ask to get some clarification based on your account because it's different for every single account. So hopefully that makes sense. But again, this is meant to just be a very simple view of looking through things. And down the road, we'll probably get more into some more nitty gritty with looking at all the stats because there's commander defense, there's unit stats, there's initiative, there's a lot. But right now we're just looking at the damage commanders, which are very much the meta and the very, very primary skills that they want to do more damage, but it does go deeper. So again, that's kind of the disclaimer after the first two videos. So appreciate you guys who have commented and kind of pointed that stuff out. But anyway, this tier list will be down in the description below, the finished tier list. You can go there, you can take a screenshot of it, whatever you want to do if you want to reference this later. And also in the description below is my top-up link, and it actually is cheaper in some regions than buying in-game to use a top-up link. So if you haven't checked that out, you might want to do so, but it does not cost any extra. It's the exact same at the very least. So if you want to use that link and support the channel, it would be greatly, greatly appreciated. But that's it for the intro. A little bit longer, but I wanted to make sure it was clear what we're doing here in terms of the simplistic view. So let's go ahead and get into the tier list. All right, first up is the Berserker's Raiment, and just like the other tier list, we have two stats on the sheet here. First of all, we have physical. The other ones will say elemental. This just represents the type of damage the commander is doing. So physical is for physical damage commanders, and elemental is for focus and poison, the elemental types of damage we have in the game. We're just kind of reducing that down to these kind of one words that represent what the commander is, so you can see who's used on. So best in slot for your Danes, your Beorns, your Shadows, Gimli, so on and so forth. If they do physical damage, you want the physical. We're also looking at HP because there are no damage stats in the primary slot for armor or helmets. So we're just looking at HP in these, which is important, although I don't find it's as important as increasing their physical, their commander attack, or their focus, or increasing their actual commander damage on weapons and accessories. But at the end of the day, if you've played, you know that sometimes you will have your commanders draw out just barely because your commander hung on. And that's sometimes because you have enough HP for them to tank a lot of hits. So HP is not a bad stat at all, but we're definitely wanting to increase the damage they put out more than the survivability. But when you have both of them, it can be very nice. So anyway, that's the layout for the armor pieces. The first one is the Berserker's Raiment, like I said, which is for physical damage commanders. Next up in the S tier is going to be the Protection of Numenor. It's got elemental of 48 or focus of 48 with 2200 HP. It's the highest HP piece in the game, at least for armors. And I will say on the Protection of Numenor, it is more restrictive than I think almost any other piece. I don't think any elves can wear it, and there might be a few other restrictions. So this is one that if you're looking for high focus gear for any commanders really across the board, kind of a bummer because they can't wear this. So again, still a very good piece, but it is a little bit restricted on who can wear it. Next up in the S tier is going to be the follow-up that most commanders will wear if they can't wear the Protection of Numenor. So that's why I'm putting it in the S tier as well. And that is the Great Plate of the East, which is still a very solid 2000 HP, an elemental or focus of 39. And that will close out the S tier. Now on to the A tier. All right, next up we have the Golden Skin. The Golden Skin has HP of 1600, and it actually has both here. So you have elemental or focus of 16, and you have commander attack for physical commanders of 15. So lower than any of these, but it can be one of those options that, again, it's still the second best physical option. The physical side does not have as much, so it's not a bad one for physical commanders, but it can go both ways. So again, it's one of those very safe pieces that if you decide to move it from a physical commander to an elemental commander, there's really not a whole lot of difference you're going to see, just like some of the accessories and weapons you saw. But it could probably be argued that this is in the S tier as well, just because it's the second best physical choice and we put the second best elemental, but it's got lower HP and lower stats across the board. So we're going to go ahead and put it in the A tier. Next up is the Elven Cloak. The Elven Cloak has 1800 HP, so a little bit more, and it has 24 elemental damage. The only reason I'm not putting it higher than the Golden Skin is because the Golden Skin is the second highest physical, whereas this is going to be our third highest for elemental damage commanders. So we're kind of breaking it up and putting this in the second slot. Next up is the Warborn Battle Plate. The Warborn Battle Plate has 2000 HP. It's actually the highest for a physical commander it has physical damage or it has commander attack of 12, which again is just a few lower than the golden skin and half as much as the Berserker's Raiment, but the numbers just aren't as high on the armor pieces. So I think it's still a solid piece. And if you had a lot of them to refine and get higher HP, it's not a bad one to look at. I know a lot of people had a lot of these from 1.0. So again, that HP is going to come in handy at times. So it could definitely be a piece worth considering. All right, next up in the B tier is the Tracker Plate. It has HP of 1600 and focus of 15 for your elemental damage commanders. Not a lot to say. I think we're down to the bottom of the barrel here in terms of ones that I would really consider using. I definitely wouldn't go crazy investing in B tier items. I would stick to the ones really in the S tier or A tier if you can. But again, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. And if you don't have any other options, this is still one that can be used and it will benefit the commander to some extent. And last but not least is going to be the Massive Breastplate. We've got HP of 1600 and we have commander attack for physical commanders at 12. So it has the same physical attack as the Warborn Battle Plate, just less HP. So we're putting it down here. Now, again, like I said, this is just a very simplistic first look at these. So you can look at the main stats that damage commanders care about, but some of these things have other options going on. Some of these things boost unit damage or unit defense or commander defense or whatever it is. So there are going to be options where, for example, I think the Tracker Plate, if I'm off the top of my head, has pretty high unit defense. So if you're wanting to have, unit defense combined with, the elemental damage it provides, it could be a better option. But we're just looking at like the primary stuff for really standard physical damage or elemental damage commanders. So make sure you look at them because there are some other considerations in these items depending on what their other stats are. But we're just looking at the actual like commander attack or focus they do as a first look. So again, you can go through. There's now 3 out of 4 tier lists done. We'll have the helmets done tomorrow, I believe. So you can go through those 4 tier lists and look through. Probably you can start at the S tier and look through all your pieces and see if you can complete sets with anything in the S tier. If you can't, bring the A tier into it and see if you can complete sets with those. And then beyond that, if you can't make sets in the first couple of tiers, I would just go with the best options you have, the options you can refine. So again, hopefully that makes sense. Kind of said a lot more this time, but I wanted to make sure it was very clear what this was meant to be. Again, link down in the description is the finished version of this, so feel free to check it out if you want to save this news for later. But that'll do it for this one, and I'll see you all in a future video.